Hi everyone, so welcome to this very short video series where me, Stephen Fahy, will be trying to help you if you're a parent or you're a teacher and you want to learn and understand more about dyslexia, then this video series is for you. In this first video, all I'm going to try to do is quickly give you a rundown. I'm just looking at my notes because I want to make sure I cover things. I'm dyslexic, by the way, myself. I am a former teacher and also I'm a global expert in educational matters, and my research is based on the relationship between mental health and emotional intelligence. So, how do you know if your child is dyslexic? And I know that recently, Holly from this morning has been campaigning for primary schools to be assessed, as in the pupils. But where does that leave you at the moment? How do you know? Well, officially, the only way that you'll be able to find out if your child is actually dyslexic is for them to go to an educational psychologist. And what will happen is they will complete an assessment, a diagnostic assessment, and they go for a series of questions. At the end of it, they'll get an educational profile, and there'll be some different areas and developments and a summary basically. And that is an official document. And that stays with that child or the adult for life. Okay. It is important to remember that within education and being a former teacher, that the earlier a child gets recognized as being dyslexic, it is better for their long-term learning, as in their lifetime learning. Because what will happen is that that particular child will get more learning interventions. What is a learning intervention? It is basically where teachers and a school work together to form what we call an individual learning plan. Okay, and that allows the teachers to better prepare and support that student. Now, there are specialist teachers in this area, but there's not enough of them. But again, where does that leave you as a parent? You're going to be worried. Now, at the moment, as I said, in primary education, as far as I know, the pupils are not automatically assessed. So it will take a very experienced teacher to actually spot symptoms in a child, which is very hard sometimes, to find out what areas of support and whether that student is dyslexic, because officially a school hasn't got an internal system. They do have special teaching strategies that they can use to support learners with difficulties in certain areas, but there are different forms of dyslexia. So what you need to do is sit down with the school. If you spot symptoms of slow reading, for example, ability to remember information, and you're seeing that through the different grades, and obviously as they go from primary school into secondary school, then it is definitely worth a conversation with the school to find out whether they can actually pay, which is, they should have funding for this, pay for your child to be assessed. And what will happen is you'll get like this document, it'll be like 5 or 6, 7 different 8 pages. Your child will go and have an assessment either in the school, what will actually be an external provider by a psychologist. And then going forward throughout that person's life, your child, they will get much, much better support, and you'll be able to work out what's the best way that they learn. Okay, for me, for example, I have a slow memory system, so I can only retain, say an average person can retain 80% of, I don't know, let's say travel directions, okay, but I would only remember 20%. My short-term memory is very small, okay. Now I use it as an advantage, by the way, and I can read several books, 20 books at once. I'll take the best of all of them. So I can't remember all 20 books, but I'll take little bits out of all of them. But anyway, I hope that's helpful. So this really just an introduction about dyslexia, okay? And it's really dyslexia, all forms of being dyslexic, okay? The support is much better from when I was a student and when I was a young child. As a teacher and an expert, I will be able to quickly spot in a classroom what students are struggling and if there are symptoms of dyslexia. Okay, and later on in this video series, I'll be able to produce more videos and give you some helps and tips about how to work with your child at home, because you might not get that assessment straight away. Okay, there might be limitations on funding, and we know that a new government's coming in, and this is one of the things we're going to push for. Okay, so follow me here on YouTube if this is going out to LinkedIn or TikTok, and I'll try my best to give all the help and advice, tips about all I know about dyslexia. And remember, I am a former teacher, I am dyslexic, and I know it's a concern and worry for you as a parent. And if you are, and even if you're an adult and you feel like Holly from TV and my late diagnostic, being diagnosed with dyslexia later on in life, it's not the best news, not because being dyslexic is embarrassing or it's, you just can't work with it. It's because sometimes it can actually affect our mental health so much so in our later years, because we look back and think, why didn't I get assessed? I could have got better grades, I could have got that support. So I'm with Sarah on this and campaigning, Holly, for all primary students to be assessed. But it's a big task, it's a big operation, it will cost a lot of money. There isn't enough psychologists around to do that at scale, but we do need to have some more work around that. So I hope you find this video interesting, and I'll try to give as much information in this first set. In the next video, I'll try to talk to you about tips, what you can do before that you can actually get that assessment. Okay, I'll put some links in down below that which you can find out on the NHS website, and different parts of information about the Dyslexia Society, and etc. But your main point, of course, should be the school, because at the end of the day, when we go through education, and which is what I call the supply chain of education, it goes like pretty much like that. Okay, but if you're dyslexic, those roads might be even more bumpy. And when we enter into the workforce, okay, sometimes there's a bit more of a mismatch between the skills that we've learned in school, where we have different learning disabilities, and actually it plays more of a weakness in our later life. And that happens quite a lot. So talk to your school. Symptoms you can watch out for are slow reading speed, small memory span. Okay, so your child can't remember as like a full sentence or a certain age. Okay, things like that. But it is important that they get properly diagnosed, because it's quite a long assessment. I think for me, it took about 3 hours, and that psychologist will actually go through a series of questions. But if you get hold of that document, if you've been assessed, okay, your child has, then the school should start working with you, looking at that assessment and different ways that can support your child. Okay, but throughout this video series, I'll try and give you lots more learning resources, information about dyslexia, because we need to talk about it more in a concrete experience. So that means somebody like me, it's lived through it, is a trained professional, but also has a really strong awareness about how do we spot the symptoms within children and adults, because more often than not, it's a late diagnosis. And like I said, it can affect the mental health a lot. So I hope this first video is useful and helpful to you. This is basically based on a poll that I did on LinkedIn, and people were saying, and in the media as well as Holly from this morning, that we're not talking about dyslexia enough. Okay, so I hope this is very useful for you. Follow me, and I'll be uploading a video tomorrow on dyslexia. Thank you for watching. Again, follow me, follow my work, and have a great day. Thank you.